Back again with another review, and this is for Wildmanbeyond. He wanted me to talk about and review Death Wish, the original, with Charles Bronson. And this was actually a first-time watch for me. I've had the film for a while. Actually, what am I doing? I have the film in here. I can actually show the film. So there you go. I have the film. What am I doing? But yeah, I did have the movie. And again, it was a first time watch, and I like the film. I mean, and again, I have to still check out the sequels, but as a film that sort of started it all. I mean, it has that. Well, okay, let me talk about the plot first. You have Charles Bronson as his character Paul Kersey, and he's an architect, and one day his wife is killed by these muggers, and from there, he seeks revenge by pretty much going out in the streets and taking out the crime, so to speak, like a vigilante, like a sidewalk vigilante. Like you would have some parts in the film where certain people are trying to mug him or take him out, and he has this gun on him. And funny enough, Jeff Goldblum is one of the muggers that kills his wife. So yeah, really early role for Jeff Goldblum. This is way back in 1974. So, but yeah, that's the plot pretty much. I mean, his character's a vigilante, or becomes a vigilante after his wife is killed, and he's out in the streets and sort of taking out the crime, taking it into his own hands, or taking matters into his own hands, I should say. But, like I said, I did like this film, and it has definitely has that sort of urban feel to it, with Charles Bronson sort of walking around in the streets, and you can definitely tell this is a film of its time, and how there's some scenes, again, like you have the one scene on the subway where these two guys are trying to take him out, and he shoots him right there. You have this one other scene where this guy, Charles Bronson's character, is at the park, and this guy tries to rob him, and he gets shot. So Charles Bronson's going around and sort of taking out the trash, so to speak. But I thought Charles Bronson here was good. I mean, as his character Paul Kersey. As far as like other people in the cast, you also have Vincent Gardenia, who I remember he was also in The Super with Joe Pesci. And I believe that was his last film, and Little Shop of Horrors. He was also in that. You also have William Redfield in here, Hope Lang, who is his wife, and again you have Jeff Goldblum right there, in a really early role, because you have one scene where they break into his apartment, and they rape his wife, and from what I understand, that's sort of like a common thing that they would do, like I think in the sequels where he would have another interest, love interest, and they would get raped and stuff, and it's brutal. And definitely here, in this film, his wife and his daughter, well, his wife gets killed, but they're brutalized and raped. And the one thing that as far as like nitpick with the film, he's not able to find his killers, the people that killed his wife, the three guys, with Jeff Goldblum. I get it, maybe around this time, especially in the early 70s, in this type of neighborhood, you're not going to be able to find these people, which is why he takes it to the streets, and he's taking out crime that way, and taking matters into his own hands, being a vigilante. But again, it's just one of those nitpicks that I have, that would have been cool to see him, to have those guys get their comeuppance. Jeff Goldblum and those other two guys. And, get theirs. I think, especially when we see how his wife is, raped and tortured, we want to see these guys get a comeuppance. But, it's Paul Kersey. He pretty much takes it out on the criminals, the bad element in the streets. And again, it definitely has this sort of urban, down and dirty feel to it. And, directed by Michael Winner. Now, Michael Winner, he would go on to direct The Sentinel. He actually would go on to direct Death Wish 2 and 3. Which again, I haven't seen the sequels. I need to check them out. And he also directed Firepower. And I was, going through some information here too. I wrote some down, but apparently, like, Clint Eastwood turned down the role of Paul Kersey, which, would have been interesting to see Clint Eastwood in this role, but he was probably doing, Dirty Harry at this time and Magnum Force. But I thought, Charles Bronson did a good job, performance-wise. And, Clint Eastwood would have been interesting, but, Charles Bronson played it well. And according to The Hollywood Reporter, too, I wrote it down right here, the producers also approached Elvis to star as Paul Kersey. And I don't know how that would have turned out. It would have been different. I don't know if it would have worked. I mean, you can't really buy that. I mean, what are you going to call it? Suspicious Wish? And that's a little joke right there. People may get that, but I don't know. Jailhouse Wish? See, now I'm just throwing out Elvis puns, but yeah, I don't know if he would have worked. But Michael Winner, I thought, did a great job here directing. Again, he definitely brought that, and, that early 70s urban cop. Well, this is not much of a cop film. It's more of a vigilante film, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that sort of in the streets, and it's not a clean environment, and you have these criminals that are, I mean, this is around the time they were making films like The Warriors and whatnot. And the 70s, especially around this era, this time, was real interesting. And even with this being a first-time watch for me, it was real interesting to go back and look at this time period. And I definitely, I mean, I got quite a few films that are from the 70s, but, I really like, the sort of backdrop of this film. That's the word I was looking for, backdrop. But, again, all credit to Michael Winner. I like the score to the film. And, as far as, like, action, I think it's safe to say that the sequels really, if you're looking for a whole lot, like, more action, you're going to get that more from the sequels. And, again, I have to still watch the sequels. But there was some good stuff here. It's more of Paul Kersey defending himself. And, he has this gun on him, and he's sort of taking out the criminals. So you got, like, a few scenes where you see that. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, good score. And then by the end of the film, he's told to leave New York. And, you see him at this, like, train station with this girl. And these gang members are looking at him. And he does this number over here. Or, does that. And, definitely an iconic little scene there. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, I did like this movie. And, yeah, again, it makes me want to check out the sequels and pick them up. But, yeah. So that's my review of Death Wish, the original, the OG. But, yeah. Good watch. Good watch. I could probably, that could probably change with the sequels, because like, even myself, I can say I'm more of an action buff. So I have a feeling that one of the sequels I would probably like more, but I still like this film. So yeah, that's my review of Death Wish. I want to thank you for watching, and thank you, Wildman, for suggesting these films. But thank you for watching, and have a good day.